Let's just pick off a couple more wide receivers you want to give a little more love to.
Sure.
Because you went through your Robin Hoods
last
time we were here, and that was Troy Franklin from Oregon, Ricky Pearsall from Florida, Adonai Mitchell, Texas, Keon Coleman, Florida State, and Xavier Legette from South Carolina. But this is such a deep class.
Yes, it is.
You walked away, and you're like, God dang, I got to mention these other people because by the end of the year, who knows? You said in the right offense, right fit, right system, they could be one of the top rookie wide receivers.
Definitely.
Stat-wise.
Exactly right. That's the other thing that confuses the receiver conversation a little bit, right? Or you go like, wait, this guy's freaky, but he got on a team and an offense that just doesn't do a whole lot, right?
Yeah.
Oh, now we got Puka Nacua. He's got a Hall of Fame-ish quarterback, a Hall of Fame-ish coach, and an awesome receiver to take some attention away from him. And then, he's the best, right? And it's like, well, no, yeah, he's awesome. Don't get me wrong, but there'd be other guys in last year's draft that would have impressed us more than they did if they were in that situation, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to take anything away there, but situation, of course, is big. And of course, when it comes to receiver, because how that offense, who's the quarterback, and all of that does dictate a lot of your success story there. And I told you, I think I had 23 odd players that I watched at wide receiver. There's probably a few more that I left on the table, but I knew they weren't going to be top 4 or 5 round type of guys, right? But probably still draftable. And I want to make sure I get in the names. And when I got done with the pod on Monday, I was just like, I always go back through my notes a little bit and just go, what did I leave? And I knew we were going to do this. And I was the one name that I am mad I didn't elaborate on a little more right off the bat is Germaine Burton from Alabama, right? Germaine Burton, when I went back and looked at my notes, I was like, well, I should have gave him more love. He was in the running for one of my top 5, maybe the 5th spot, right? With Roman Wilson and Troy Franklin there, to where I was like, oh, these guys are good. Who do I want to make 5? I went with Roman Wilson, but Burton was very much in that conversation and think he's made for the NFL. One, I don't even think he got to play really his true position in college. I think he's going to be best in the slot. Right? He played outside. He's got good speed. I think he's actually got better speed than we talked about than the 4.45 he ran at the combine. Because when you see him go deep and stuff, he goes by people, right? And he's got some acceleration. There's no doubt about that. He's got a great pair of legs, and he can cut on a dime. Whether the ball's in his hands as a ball carrier or just watching, his route tree. And he didn't run a ton of routes because they had a quarterback who was a runner and a little raw, right? So they kept it kind of simple. But from what I saw between those two things, I went, oh, man, he's got some sudden twitchiness to him. He can put his foot in the ground, let alone he's got some strength where he catches the ball over the middle. He's going to run through some arm tackles. He'll be able to lower the shoulder and bounce off a guy. So I really like Germaine Burton was my point. And he's one guy where I go, again, next year everybody, you made Roman Wilson 5. It should have been Germaine Burton. And I go, yeah, Germaine Burton was definitely in that running and one of those guys that he goes to the right spot or whatever. Watch out, he'll be able to kick some ass right from the get-go.
That's why doing this, you're almost guaranteeing to be wrong.
Yeah,
you're gonna be wrong
I know that.
Because situation.
That's why
spot,
I have no fear, and that's why I go with what I see and what I evaluate and what I write on the damn paper. That's to me where the whole community's wrong too. They're not so worried about being wrong and on freezing cold takes and all that. And it's just like I've always told you. I've been around some of the greatest minds in the history of the sport. I've seen them be wrong. I'm not afraid to be wrong. Yeah. You're going to be wrong. Right? It's just part of it. You got to look at it like baseball a little bit and go, man, I know it's not, you want to bet better than 300, but you got to realize you're going to have some swings and some misses and some strikeouts and not going to be perfect that way.
Well, Pete's got a good question, too. Are the GMs also scared to be wrong? And of course they are. They want to pick the right guys or else they lose their job.
Right.
But they do get a little boost if they're just like, hey, we picked this guy, but look at everyone had him as the number 2 wide receiver.
Definitely some politics and some safeness and some of that goes into it for sure. I don't, we have this guy who's been put up on a pedestal and everybody's been telling us all about. We have another guy that we have an equal grade to, or it's very close, right? And there's some elements, man, we really like, but gosh, he went to this school. The stats weren't that good. The fan base isn't that excited about him.
Every article would say we reached for him.
Let's go to this guy here, right? It's just a safer pick, right? And then is that some of that go on? Absolutely goes on in the NFL.
All right, so who are some of the other wide receivers that need some love
Well,
here?
Ladd McConkey does for Georgia, right? Ladd McConkey, I mean, again, along the lines of a Ricky Pearsall, right? And I know they're both white, and I don't mean to make that, that kind of talk,
Kinda
right?
like Adam Thielen, Wes Welker type,
Yeah, exactly.
Edelman,
Yeah, exactly, right.
yeah, Jordy Nelson comes to mind.
Who other white guys can we think about? Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but you know what I think is interesting about, like a guy like Ladd McConkey and Ricky Pearsall, they don't have like the build of jitterbug type of guys totally, right? That's where they're a little different here. I think ultimately they're going to be great in the slot, but this is a bigger human than an Edelman or a Wes Welker or that type of guy.
Yeah, 6 foot 186 for McConkey.
Exactly right. And the type of speed where you go, wait, if you put him outside, he can run by people. Like this is not just like, white guy receiver who can read a defense and cut on a dime and runs good routes and is quarterback friendly. No, there's a little bit to like, you can go out here and go, oh wait, they're gonna bump Ladd, my old Ladd McConkey over here. They're gonna bump him. He's running a go route here. I like Ladd on a go route against this guy, right? So this is not just like some one trick pony that needs to be in the slot. That's where I like Ladd. So I'm definitely glad to give him some love. And I think guys like him, like a Puka last year, they're made for the NFL because they're polished. They're kind of ready to go. The route running's good. They got great hands, right? And they're going to be like, coaches are going to be like, wait, hey, I can make him right here and I know what I'm going to get from him and all of that. Now, these are not the kind of guys, too, where you're just going to go, hey, I'm going to line him up outside all game, like Jamar Chase, right? And go, he'll beat everybody man-to-man, or they're just going to have to double him, right? They got to figure it out. So they're not that. And, of course, I value that more than like, hey, I'm Puka Nacua and I'm awesome, but I got to be moved around and stacked in a little bit every now and then. I can't just line up and go, I'll beat the best corner in football all game long, right? And there's a difference there, and that's where, again, the stats and all of that stuff can be a little misleading, right? Puka Nacua's stats are better than A.J. Brown's last year, right? I mean, he ain't A.J. Brown. I promise you. He's not. A.J. Brown's the guy you can go, we're just going to put you in one spot the whole game, and we know you'll win if it's man-to-man. And if it's double, well, shit, we still might throw you the ball, right? I mean, there's a difference there, and I don't even know I think Puka's stats were better than A.J. Brown's, but pretty sure.
Probably pretty close, actually. Yeah. I don't know, yeah. You have
Yeah, they're much better,
They were much better?
Yeah, he had 105 receptions. Oh, he had
1,600 yards for Puka.
Puka had, not much Brown. A.J. Brown's 30 yards behind him.
30 yards. Yeah, there we go. So he's got that on him. A.J. Brown, I'm not that much behind.
Pete saying, though,
Puka
last
Nacua.
season, my bad. Like, there was only one season with Puka. So.
I thought you were talking about 2017.
Oh, I got you. He thought he was talking rookie year.
A.J. Brown's rookie year. You have two more receivers that you want to give love to. Devontez Walker for North Carolina, Johnny Wilson for Florida State, who I looked at and I was like, that's Gronk out there now in height and kind of the way he moves sometimes, but not necessarily an ability. He's not going to be Gronk, but he does strike you as a bigger 6'6" receiver out there. Wilson and Walker, what do you have on
Walker,
those guys?
I mean, Walker's my kind of guy now. You know what I mean? Now, Walker is like, he's an X all the way. He needs work as a route runner. But, he's got size and he can fly, right? And I like that. And, maybe where I missed on like the receiver that came out of North Carolina a few years ago, right? The speed guy.
Downs.
I made him a top 5 receiver. De'Ami Brown, right? Where maybe I didn't take into enough account of how he plays through contact and how good the route running is, right? And there needs to be a little baseline there of something, right? Where Devontez Walker is a lot like that. I mean, he runs by everybody. I mean, this straight ahead speed is phenomenal, right? But yeah, it's technique stuff. It's steps all over the place. It's arms flailing everywhere when he's about to make a break, right? And then when he has the ball in his hands, he has not shown great change of direction ability or the ability to stick his foot in the ground and make people miss, right? Where like this is where self-scout thyself with De'Ami Brown, right? I was a little bit like so enthralled with the speed and running by people and all of that, right? And I kept going, I wish there was a little bit more make a guy miss after the catch or do all of that, right? But I kind of just went, well, he's fast and he'll figure out how to run routes. And I said to self-scout myself to go, that's wrong. There wasn't enough evidence there, right? You know how sometimes I piece it together and go, he has a basic route tree. Well, like I said it about T. Higgins the other day. Basic route tree, but I saw T. Higgins do things with the ball in his hands that made me believe he could stick his foot in the ground and break and run sharp routes, right? De'Ami Brown, I kind of swept that under the rug, and I shouldn't have, and that's where I was wrong, and I won't do that with Devontez Walker, who's very similar that way in that attribute.
NFL.com gave this comp to Devontez Walker. Alec Pierce, another Simms draft special.
Right. Now, Alec Pierce can really run routes, right? Alec Pierce, and really in a lot of ways, is more like almost like a Ladd McConkey or a Ricky Pearsall in a lot of ways, maybe a little faster. But I understand what they're saying. Bigger type of receiver, long, and he can go by people. And again, that's where, Alec Pierce, people don't realize it. I think sometimes people see the skin color and go, hey, he's not going to run by people, he's a burner. And you go, no, he's a burner. He just hasn't been in an offense out there. And the Colts yet, with a young quarterback or Gardner Minshew, who's not a great deep ball thrower, that could totally kind of show what he has yet as a player. Yeah. We'll see where that goes this year.
Last year.
Right.
I was watching one against
the Tennessee Titans we saw, that was it.
And our new Detroit Lion and Meek Robertson, he blew by him.
Yeah, he did. That's right.
Johnny Wilson, what do you think of him?
Well, Wilson is he's just intriguing.
Florida State,
giant human being, 6'6", over 230, right? Where I go, can he play tight end? Those are the things I think of. Can he put his foot in the ground? He's not afraid to dominate DBs coming off the line of scrimmage and run block, or if they jam him, he'll just run them over. He does have pretty good feet. He's got pretty good speed for that. Now, it can just be a little lethargic and clunky at times and all that. So you'd have to find how you want to use him and the role in which you want to use him and all that, right? But, there's a mold there to think. And again, I'm not saying this guy's a top 2, probably not even in the top 3 rounds of the draft. But there's some things there where you go, you can get him on our team. Let's see what he's about. Can we find a niche for him? Can he play tight end? Can he do something like that? Can we depend on him a few times a game in big situations, jump balls in the back of the end zone, 50-50 ball, box out a guy on a back shoulder, whatever? Find your way that way, right? Let alone maybe a big slot receiver, because he can stick his foot in the ground and come out of breaks a little bit. But yeah, I found him interesting. And I think when I went through the draft, we hit it. Germaine Burton, Keon Coleman, Malachi Corley, Troy Franklin, Marvin Harrison Jr., Xavier Legette, Ladd McConkey, Adonai Mitchell, Malik Neighbors, Odunze Pearsall, Brian Thomas Jr., Devontez Walker, Johnny Wilson, Xavier Worthy. I think those are the top 15 guys in the draft for me, right? Yo, homies, what's up? I know it's the offseason, but it's never the offseason on Chris Simms Unbuttoned. Me and Ahmed Fareed are going to be here for it all. We got free agency. We're going to break it all down. The draft, the rankings of positions. Of course, we're going to unpack it all. Hit subscribe, get to my free agency reactions, 2024 draft rankings, and more. Thanks again for watching. Peace out, homies. See you soon.